Hey, what's going on everybody? I'm Primal Liquid and welcome to my in-depth breakdown of the Final Fantasy XVI trailer. Now, if you're like me, you've probably watched this trailer already about 300 times. However, there were certainly a few things I only caught when going through it frame by frame. So I'm curious if many of you caught everything hidden in the trailer. So let's jump into it, shall we? The trailer starts off with a war-torn looking man who seems to be in his own little world, thinking about anything, we don't know. During this, we learn from the sergeant that a target is Shiva. So this means it's highly likely we're going to be fighting Shiva, as she's dominant at something, I guess. Maybe she's dominating the war that seems to be going on, as highlighted right after this in the next clip. Now, right after this, the sergeant says our kind doesn't question orders, and the main character touches the tattoo on his face. So this could be referencing some kind of unit or elite team who share the same tattoo mark, which I might add is present on all of the characters during this cutscene. We have another small clip of the battle which gives us a nice glance at the chocobos, which look fabulous, I might add. After this though, we hear somebody say, "Sergeant, they have summoned their icon," and instantly cuts over to Titan, where the sergeant refers to it as a mountain. So like Final Fantasy 15 Titan, it's very likely to be extremely large. Notice the model though. This reminds me more of the Final Fantasy 14 Eden 4 raid encounter, albeit with a few small differences. After this though, we get a look at Shiva. However, she's actually attacking Titan, so this is interesting for a number of reasons. Firstly, at the start of the trailer we find that our target is Shiva, making Shiva out to be an enemy. But we've also just heard them say they have summoned their icon, in reference to Titan. So I believe the unit in the trailer is maybe on a stealth mission between two different nations or groups, as depicted by the fact Shiva and Titan are not part of our forces, and they are going up against each other. So currently there seems to be at least 3 factions here: Shiva's side, Titan's side, and our unit. Right after this, we see a clip of somebody being crushed by a boulder. However, it's unknown if this is due to the Shiva vs Titan fight, or if we see Titan multiple times, since when Shiva attacks, we don't actually see any boulders fall away or come loose from Titan. All we know is somebody from the unit is crushed with an actual splatter of blood, indicating this is probably going to have some brutal and graphic moments in it, highlighting a likely R18 rating. Now, this is where things get interesting though. Right after this, we're taken to a young looking man who says, "Our foe will not relinquish the Mother Crystal easily." Now, I like this, because once again it seems we have a Final Fantasy based on a crystal, which is where the series started and where it shines in my opinion. Now, we know this is the same character as the older looking man at the start of the trailer, based on the end of the trailer, indicating we're going to have some form of time skip. Then we go over to Joshua being scolded by what I assume is his nanny. Notice the young man is bowing, showing his lower status, and it makes sense for him to be here as he is the shield of young Joshua. So we essentially have a starting point right here. Then we have an interesting little clip of what appears to be Joshua healing the young man with his firepower, which we believe is the power of the Phoenix, which in a lot of mythology it does have the power to heal due to its own nature of being an immortal creature who can be reborn from its own ashes. However, I don't think this is the case, and I'll touch more on this later. Next, we have another look at the Chocobo in closer detail this time. It's also a different colour, so I'm hoping we will not be limited to just a normal yellow Chocobo, maybe the ability to change a Chocobo colour, or maybe even unique Chocobos like back in Final Fantasy IX with special abilities. Now, we see some combat. Notice straight away it's the young version of the man in question, furthermore highlighting a time skip in game. We don't see too much here, a few slashes, a warp attack like in Final Fantasy 15, and some fire magic casts. There is, however, a small part that makes it look like he is also imbuing the fire element into his sword strikes. So maybe instead of just casting, we can also add the element to slashes to further help with enemy weaknesses. Next, we have something rather interesting. A man says, "What do you mean you refuse? Did you not swear to pledge your sword to our cause?" Now, with no context, this can mean any number of things. However, given what happened at the very start of the trailer with the unit, I believe it's referencing this. Maybe our character is having second thoughts, like he appears to be at the start and he wants to leave the organization. Hard to say with so little information though. However, if you look close at the back right, you can see a masked figure here. This is the same costume as the warrior earlier on from the war, so it's very hard to come to any sort of conclusion here about this scene, but it does seem to be that this is one of the organizations taking part in the war. Afterwards, we see the glorious Marlborough, and we get a glimpse of future game overs we're all probably going to experience. During the fight, we see more warping, some fire casts, and once again, him imbuing his sword slashes with fire magic. Now, we go back to the man with white hair. We also learn of some names here, as the lady says, it was the Dalmex who pushed back the Crusaders in the Battle of the Twin Realms, where we see another war. However, if we go back to the previous war clip, I believe this is the war in question. We have a very Crusader looking person attacking somebody. Possibly this is a Dalmec they are speaking about, so maybe a religion, nation, or group. We do, however, get a small clip of Titan with ice around him, and then go back to the older looking man. Interestingly though, while it's dark and hard to make out, it appears he actually has no tattoo in this clip. Notice the girl next to him as well. Looks a lot like an older version of the girl we see with Joshua and the young man earlier on. I wonder though, where is Joshua if both of these people are here? And if she does follow us like this, is she perhaps a party member? Next up, we see a Dragoon fighting the young man. However, let's not focus on the Dragoon for now. Instead, notice the attack the young man does. He has a Phoenix wing there. However, only Joshua should have the power of the Phoenix. So what's going on here? We're getting to it, guys, trust me. We do go forward a little more and we see the knight in red. The same knight who walks off with Joshua at the start of the trailer. We also find out the Dragoon is an Imperial. So is this related to the Dalmex or Crusaders? Or is it actually a third new group? After this, we see what appears to be the older man fighting against a Quirrell. But one thing I want to point out is, look at the bottom of the sword in this image. And sorry, I know it's blurry, but this is the best shot I can get with the sword's actual colour visible. But notice a clean silver sword. Well, right after this, we get a different look at the same fight, and after he slashes the monster, the sword actually changes colour to reflect the blood on it. Now, is this just showing off the realism with blood on weapons? Or maybe it's a throwback to the blood sword from older titles. And then what is either a goblin or more likely idea is a kobold. we do something very unique here. While he's fighting, he seems to summon some creature's claws. Now, I believe these are actually related to Garuda for a few reasons. Firstly, they look more like bird talons, and notice the speedy wind arcs coming from them and also the green energy-like particles around the character. This would also explain why the Phoenix Wing against the Dragoon coming up. I do touch on another thing later though, which really does make it look like we can actually acquire icon abilities in some way. Now, this is where things get even more interesting though. We see Joshua and two guards in the same armor and clothing style, indicating they're all on the same side. One man is defending Joshua, very likely the main character, as he does look sort of between the young and older appearances we've seen so far. However, it appears they get betrayed and the main character gets stabbed, completely covering Joshua in blood, showing just how gory this game will probably be. What makes it interesting though is the next clip. We see the character in the same clothes as Just actually summon a small phoenix. Right after this, we see him use Titan's Fist to attack an enemy, further cementing my idea we absorb icon powers. So maybe Joshua, through healing us earlier on in the trailer, gave us a portion of the Phoenix's power. Hence why we could only use some fire magic and a small Phoenix wing. But now he's brought us back to life, giving us more of the Phoenix's power maybe? Now, we see what we believe to be Joshua actually call forth the entire Phoenix. Everything is on fire and then a person made of flames appears. Maybe this is our main character being resurrected? We do hear somebody say something, but I'm afraid I can't make out the first few words. But it's something about being set on fire. I'm unsure though because of the missing first few words. However, right after this, we see Ifrit summoned, who goes against the Phoenix. Then we get some title cards, which I'm really curious about to say the least. The history of the crystal has shaped our history for long enough. So it seems our goal might be to destroy the crystal instead of harnessing its power, like in traditional Final Fantasies. Maybe the crystal itself is what gives icons power, or maybe creates the icons. After all, such creatures could absolutely shape history. Next up, we learn something very interesting though. Ifrit is clawing somebody apart. You can see the blood splatter, but while this is going on, we hear somebody saying, "Joshua, please wake up." And to me, it sounds like the main character, but obviously we really don't know that at this point. But this is leading to the idea that Ifrit is in actual fact Joshua who was transformed. Maybe due to the rage earlier on when they got betrayed. Perhaps earlier on we didn't see Joshua summoning the Phoenix. Maybe that's just the way they handled the trailer clips. Maybe what is actually happening is he becomes Ifrit and the Phoenix detects it and so comes on its own to try and stop the transformed Joshua. Maybe Joshua has nothing to do with Phoenix itself. After all, in the trailer itself, it never specifies Joshua. All it says is the Archduke's son when the Phoenix is mentioned. We have no way of knowing if that is in fact Joshua or not. Now onto the ending quote, which is interesting. "I'll kill you if it's the last thing I do." Notice the look on both the young and old images. Look at the rage and the anger there. So it seems the story is going to focus heavily on revenge. And then we see the art style for the title showing off a Phoenix versus Ifrit. Now, here's my theory on this. Joshua does not in fact possess the power of the Phoenix. Maybe he only had Ifrit inside of him, but because they are both fire aspected, people couldn't tell the difference. maybe our character is the actual Phoenix and he wants revenge on Ifrit. This would also explain how we can get stabbed and still come back to life, because of the whole reborn from ashes thing. Obviously, it's hard to tell currently due to only having one trailer to go off of. One thing is for sure though, this is very likely to be one of the darkest and most gruesome games in Final Fantasy series. And knowing who some of the members are which are working on this, I'm seriously excited to see how the story actually pans out. And truthfully, this might be the game that puts Final Fantasy back on track after the horror show of the last few games. But that's going to be it for me, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the video, and let's get a discussion going down below in the comments. What do you think about my observations and ideas? Did you catch something I missed, or maybe have a different theory? I think we can have some good conversations about this. Of course, you are more than welcome to check out the Discord server as well, where we also quite often discuss the trailer. But like always, everybody, if you enjoyed the video, then please be sure to leave a like and hit that subscribe button if you're new around here. I do have a lot more videos coming related to Final Fantasy 16, which I think you will be really interested in. But like always, everybody, thanks for watching, and I will see you later.